Do you think Sweden is a good place for digital nomads?
Today I'm talking with Emelie, the founder of Swedish Nomads, the largest digital nomad community in Sweden. As pioneers in the remote workspace, they've gained widespread publicity in both Swedish and international media over the years. We discuss what it's like working remotely from Sweden in 2025, how the country is evolving to support nomads, and how AI can assist freelancers in creative ways. So if you're curious about what it's like being a digital nomad in Sweden, join us on this walk through the heart of Stockholm. I'm Jonatan, software engineer, entrepreneur, and your Swedish guide for today. Häng på!
It's nice to be with you again, Emelie.
Very nice to meet you again as well. Welcome back to Stockholm.
Thank you. I think we met the last time in 2017 or 19 or something.
Yeah, probably. So I guess it was just around the time when we launched Svenska Nomader or Swedish Nomads.
Exactly. We met at one of your events at Swedish Nomads. Are you still doing Swedish Nomads?
We are. I mean, it's still the largest community in Sweden for digital nomads, remote workers.
Yeah.
But we aren't really that active. It's become much more community driven. But we do have over 9,000 individuals anyway in our Facebook group that are very active, ask questions and try to support each other in living a more remote work lifestyle.
Amazing.
We've had the community now for over 7 years. I've actually met quite a few people that said that Svenska Nomader was the starting point of them starting a more remote
career.
Yeah, a remote career, yes.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
And I mean, it varies though, because for some people it's been, from the beginning I think that all of us kind of thought of digital nomads more of being people that were working from abroad and traveling the world. But I think that what we came to realize quite quickly is that remote work can mean different things for different people. And for many people, working remotely, the biggest benefit is really that you're able to work from maybe your home city, if you come from a smaller city in Sweden or a more remote area.
Yeah.
But you're able to stay there close to family, friends, nature, but still carry on a normal work life as if you would have been based in a larger city like Stockholm, where we're at now.
That was actually one of my questions. How is the situation these days in terms of working remotely?
Yeah, I think back in 2017 when we started Swedish Nomads, people that wanted to work remotely, they always had to be freelancers.
Right.
Because if you weren't a freelancer, then there weren't really that many employers that would allow you to work remotely. But then that kind of changed around the time of the pandemic, of course. Because I think stats say that 50% of the working population in Sweden worked from home during the pandemic. So of course that is when companies really needed to adapt a more digital first, remote first mindset, create different routines to work remotely and so on.
So we were 2-3 years ahead of the curve, you could say.
Yes,
then,
which also meant, of course, that we got a lot of attention during this time because we were kind of the people.
Yeah, we are really the OGs, you and me here.
Yes, we are.
3 years before everyone else.
I know, we're so cool.
Yeah, we're so
crazy.
Cool.
I think after the pandemic, more and more companies started opening up to the fact that people could actually work remotely as employees as well.
Yeah.
So we did see within the community that more and more people found us that were also looking for full-time employment, but we wanted to do it more remotely. Let's see where we should go now.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you could sit down there, but you couldn't anymore. Or maybe you kind of can.
Where are we now, Emelie?
Sergels Torg, which is the heart of Stockholm.
Yeah.
Not that this place has the best reputation, to be honest, but I think it looks really cool.
It looks cool. It's a very iconic spot.
Yes.
But it's unfortunately a lot of drug addicts and stuff like that here,
yes.
I guess.
And I think there were more before. They're trying to do a lot to rejuvenate this area. So normally during the summers, there's a lot of activities for families and so on as well.
Yeah. And there's a famous fountain or something in the background here.
Yeah, that's where people go when Sweden wins football games. And then they're drunk and go swimming there. Or then we will go to Brunkebergs Torg, which has also been an area that has just popped up, I'd say, just within the past 3-4 years.
Okay.
Before there was nithing up here. But now WeWork, for instance, when they open in Sweden, they have their space up here, and there's a lot of cool hotels and rooftop bars and so on.
Nice.
So there's a lot
Stockholm
of stuff
is
happening.
Developing.
It is, and I'd say also, like, we were talking about the pandemic, and when we started Swedish Nomads, there were almost no real co-working spaces in
Right.
Sweden at that time.
Yeah, I
but,
remember.
Yeah.
So how has that developing been with the co-working spaces and stuff here in Sweden?
It's developed a lot. There
Yeah.
are so many different spaces these days, and there's really so many places that cater to nomads or remote workers, freelancers in general as well. Even hotels have started like launching their own co-working concepts. You have different cafes that have co-working concepts, and
Very
it's interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
So it's been really happening here.
It is. It has actually, and you could say this is something that has just like evolved during the past 5-6 years, and maybe even more so after the pandemic, probably. But yeah, I was going to say that right now, I mean, the pandemic ended. Of course, people could go back to the office.
Yeah.
And at first, people thought that they would keep like a very open mindset when it came to remote work, and a lot of companies allowed employees to work from home or from other places a few days a week. But this has kind of like started shifting back.
Yeah.
At some companies, this is not unique just to Sweden, of course.
Right.
You see this in a lot of places, but there's like this.
So they're not as open to 100%
No.
remote work. That's what I've
No.
experienced as well, because I'm a software engineer and I've been talking to Swedish companies from time to time.
Yeah.
And I think most of them want you at least part-time in the office.
Yes, I hear a lot of stories like that. Even of people that have had really like good working relationships with people that have been completely remote for a long time, and all of a sudden now they're shifting back to saying, you know what, we're not really taking care of our culture, we're not innovating enough, we do need people to come back to the office more often.
Right.
And I do also think that this is partly due to the fact the economy isn't really that good right now. Sweden has a really high rate of unemployment also, which I think means that the employers are kind of like in a position where they can set more clear rules right now, because they know that people really need work,
I
and
see.
that
So-
there's a lot of talent out there. So I think that there's been like a power shift. So even though before you thought that like most employers would actually allow remote work more just to attract the best talent,
Yeah.
that's not as true anymore.
I see.
But I do think like when the economy shifts again, and when we go towards like a better future maybe, that the companies that actually cater for and allow remote work and that level of flexibility, at least at some level, that they will benefit, and that more people will want to work there, because of course if people get a better work-life balance,
That's a huge
that's
plus.
a huge thing. Yeah, it was back in 2014 that I started trying out my digital nomad wings, and was based in Tokyo for a while.
Oh yeah, that's so cool. We have that in common. We both love Tokyo, right?
Yes. I
And
love
Japan.
Tokyo. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love Japan.
Yeah, I remember we discussed that like way back, that you had been to Tokyo as well, because I've been there like 3 times,
Yeah.
and I have friends there.
I was actually working for a Japanese startup, and that was a lot of
really?
fun. No, I was helping them out with marketing and PR in English, because they were an all Japanese team. And then I came about, it was actually, well, I managed to find one person working there who had a small connection to Sweden. I reached out to him, and then he was like, oh, maybe you could help us out with this as a freelancer.
Did you know Japanese, or did you learn Japanese?
I wrote in English because they wanted help with like positioning themselves outside of Japan. But yeah, I did study Japanese when I was there.
Genki desu ka? Genki desu?
Genki desu.
ka?
Watashi wa Emelie desu. Yoroshiku onegai. Look, now we're actually, I don't know where
Yeah,
we're
this
walking,
is
but
beautiful.
this is
Let's
the
take a
castle.
360 here.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, this
Oh,
is.
should I walk
yeah,
with you? Is
if
that
you
like a
want.
thing you do?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
But it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice.
So this is the Swedish castle where the royal family, I don't know if they live there. No, they don't. But it is the royal castle in the middle of.
That one there. Stockholm is quite beautiful.
Yeah,
I think.
it is. When you're walking here.
Lots of water.
Yeah, there's lots of water. I think Stockholm is built up on 7 islands. So there's bridges between the different parts, and then Stockholm has also been called like the Venice of the North. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So-
It's a bit cold right now, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're in the beginning of May, but it feels like March or something,
yes.
almost.
I know people say
To
that
me.
about Swedes, that we always talk about the weather, but
Yeah.
I think that's true. That's why I just talked about the weather.
Right. Yeah, we're being Swedish.
Yes.
But it's a big part of living here, of course. The weather
Yeah.
impacts a lot.
I guess that's why many Swedes dream of being digital nomads.
Exactly. Exactly.
At least for a period. That's actually something that I've thought about a lot recently, because right now I'm very much based in Stockholm.
Yeah.
But that's also because today I have 2 kids. They're 5 and 3 years old. And I also think that Sweden has such amazing childcare. That there's like, I've seen like also within the community that even though there are of course digital nomad families out there, and it is possible to do it, and it's quite beneficial and easy to be in Sweden when you're 2 working parents and to make sure that you have childcare at the price that you pay here, which isn't a lot. I think it's like for both our kids we pay approximately 180 euros per month to have them like full time in kindergarten, which in other countries would maybe be what you pay for one child for 1 week. So
Wow. It's a huge difference.
so I have a lot of, I mean, I know a lot of expats in Stockholm, and I know a lot of people that have actually moved and relocated to Stockholm just because the childcare here is so great.
Wow.
So that's why they picked Sweden as like their
Base.
their new base.
Oh, yeah. And that's a perk of Sweden, of course.
Yeah. I think that maybe we can walk over here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Perfect.
No one knows where we're walking, but we are really like showing off. Nothing like secret about Stockholm right now. We're just like in the most central parts,
Yeah.
just
The very
circling.
most central parts.
Yeah.
And that's what's this island called again? On the other side?
I should know that.
Skeppsholmen?
Skeppsholmen, yeah, you're right.
Skeppsholmen,
And then outside of that is Kastellholmen, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where you have the Modern Museum of Art,
right.
for instance.
Somewhere out here, the Vasa skeppet sank, I think.
Yeah.
A big famous old ship.
Yeah, that's
What-
like a reason for coming to Sweden, right? Just to see the Vasa skepp.
Yeah. It's a big
Yeah.
museum.
Yeah, it's a big museum out on Djurgården.
It's quite cloudy today, but it's not too bad.
No, like we said, it's now we started talking about the weather, but we don't know what to say. It's like, yeah, it's cloudy.
It's like a filler.
Yeah.
It's like a filler.
But yeah. Remember, but yesterday the weather was nice. It was
yeah,
warm in the
exactly.
afternoon. That was good.
So you have like your own consulting company where you do
Yes.
lectures and
that is what I
help
do. I mean,
companies?
everything I do is through my own consultancy company. So I've run
Ah.
my company for 15 years, and all
Okay.
the gigs and all the projects I'm part of, I do through my company as a consultant.
I see.
So I'm
have
a
a
true
aktiebolag.
freelancer. I have an aktiebolag, yeah.
Nice. Which
So
is
a limited company.
limited company. Yeah.
And then a month ago, I actually challenged myself to do my first stand-up comedy gig as
Wow.
well. And that is something I did in collaboration. I created an AI chatbot that named itself Frank, that became my AI stand-up coach during 6 weeks. So we like went over and he trained me on how to be a stand-up comedian.
Wow.
And then I got up on stage in front of 250 people for 15 minutes to try and like deliver my first, or 10 minutes, it was just 10 minutes, to try and deliver like my first stand-up gig and to try and make people laugh.
That's amazing.
And it's like the most frightening thing that I've
Yeah,
ever
I
done.
can
I was
imagine.
so nervous.
How did it go?
But I mean, it did go okay. I think in the beginning people were like, has she started yet, or is she trying to be funny now, or is she just telling a story? So it was like kind of like awkward silence thing. But then I pulled out a piece of paper with like jokes that different AI models had written, which was actually fun because I spoke about this on LinkedIn beforehand. And then a researcher reached out to me. She was like, what if you give me one prompt? I try it with 5 different AI models and I give them to you, and then you try those jokes on stage, and we will see, like, depending on how much people laugh, which model is the funniest. I think a tie between ChatGPT and Copilot, actually.
Oh, really?
You wouldn't think that.
Yeah, no.
Copilot maybe, but yeah.
GitHub Copilot.
No, not GitHub Copilot, but Microsoft Copilot.
Microsoft Copilot.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're in the old town. Gamla stan.
We're entering Gamla stan.
This is the oldest part of Stockholm, I guess.
Yeah.
Where all the tourists go.
Yep. Like we said, it's not like we're showing you any secrets about Stockholm in this video.
Yeah.
We're just doing like the most basic.
The most
there
basic
is.
stuff.
Yeah. So that's this is not like an insider's guide to Stockholm,
No.
if that's what you were hoping for, unfortunately.
Exactly.
We can do that next time you're
Next
in Stockholm.
time. Rain check.
Yes, I think that Gamla stan is awesome. Actually, it's super nice, and especially now when you're here outside of like tourist season, it's actually nice. There's a lot of companies that have like offices and things here as well.
Really?
And there are some co-working spaces. I mean, there's like a lot of like tech agencies and startups and things that have their offices here as well, and then they're often like high up, like in the different buildings and like the attics and things, and you have like this super historical view. Yeah. So now we're gonna do the most touristic street, I guess, in all of Sweden, maybe. So it's Västerlånggatan, which is like the main street in Gamla stan. This is also famous. You see people, if you want to film up here. I think it's like the most narrow alley in all of Sweden or something.
I see. Oh, here.
So that's also
Okay.
like a tourist spot.
Yeah.
See, they're even laughing because it's so funny. Yeah, it's
like
so
it?
great.
I love the selfie stick.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're doing an interview for my channel.
Yeah, the selfie stick is back.
Yeah, it's
it's
back in a big
happening.
way.
Big
Yeah,
way.
you see that.
Alley in Stockholm.
I know, it's so great. Everything's happening now.
This is where it's happening.
This is where it's at.
This
This
is
is where
where-
you meet people and laugh about the narrow alley and the fact that you're holding a selfie stick. If you stand there, I'm going to see if
Yeah.
I can take a picture of us with the selfie
Oh,
stick.
cool. I feel I'm spacing out a bit. I forget my script here. Like I forget all the questions.
Yeah, but you know, being
chill to be
being an
here.
interviewer, isn't that all about like just going with the flow
Oh,
and
yeah.
seeing where the conversation leads
Of course. What do you think about working from Sweden versus abroad? Do you think Sweden is a good place for digital nomads?
Yeah, I'd say that it's become like a much better place because we do have more co-working spaces and everything now. There's also like there is quite a big expat community in Sweden as well, of people that are here like for a shorter time or sometimes people that are here longer as well. I also think like a lot of events these days, like for the tech community, the startup community, the freelance community, are also in English.
Right. So it's easy to come here as an international person.
I'd say so, but then of course, like a lot of people say that it's hard to get to know Swedes, like for real, because of all different. I don't know. People say that Swedes aren't that open, they're not that social, and so on.
Yeah.
I don't think that that necessarily needs to be true, but I think you like need to put yourself out there and maybe join community events that cater to like actual interests that you have and that you might share, and then I think that it's quite nice to just like grow a community of friends. I mean, and if you put yourself out there and you just make stuff up, it's like me and another girl called Hanna Pettersson who runs Technigo, which is like a tech boot camp company. She also funded Tjejer Kodar to get like more Swedish women to start with programming. A month ago, we launched a dinner club that we just like talked about on LinkedIn. Next week, we have our next event and we have 14 people that are going to join just for a casual dinner.
That's awesome.
Which is nice.
So that could be one tip if you want to get to know people, you network.
Yeah.
Going to these meetups,
Yeah.
co-working spaces, different events like that.
Yes, and look them up beforehand. I know a lot of companies or a lot of individuals and groups are using Eventbrite to post events. So maybe look on Eventbrite and see if you find any cool events there.
Awesome. It's quite an international city.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess you will find people from all over. So we're entering this
Stortorget.
Stortorget. Some old square with
The Nobel Prize Museum.
Nobel Prize Museum.
Okay, this isn't a tourist video, but if you come to Stockholm during winter, all of December, they have a super nice like Christmas fair here, which is super famous.
What countries have you been to, like as a digital nomad yourself? Do you have any favorites?
I mean, I do love Japan. We talked about that already. I do also love Portugal. I think Lisbon is like an amazing place to work remotely from. I've always had like a really big love for Barcelona as well. I think also because that's the first city I ever visited by myself when I was younger. And I love Spain in general, to be honest. I also think London is an amazing place to go and work remotely from because they have such a great community. You have people from all over the world, and I just love everything that has to do with London, to be honest.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic city. Yeah, and any like favorite tool or something that you can't live without these days?
Probably ChatGPT and Midjourney.
Midjourney.
because we are in the age of AI right now, and I've also made ChatGPT into my colleague. So I've like built my own freelance colleague since I've always worked by myself. Now I have a colleague called Nova. Who supports me with everything, and she's like my go-to person for both work-related things and just like to get inspiration and so on. So I think ChatGPT is great. But also I'd say LinkedIn. I don't know if you'd call that a tool, but to be honest, I think like all my gigs in the past couple of years as a freelancer, I've landed thanks to being present on LinkedIn.
Right. So that's a big tip.
Yeah.
This Nova person, how is that working? Like a ChatGPT wrapper somehow? Or?
Yeah, no, to be honest, it's really like straightforward. It's just like a one chat window in ChatGPT that I just continuously used for the past 12 months. So I haven't changed chat. I just go to that specific one.
Right.
And so like the memory and everything is there, and she acts as if she was my colleague.
So then it becomes like an assistant that really knows you and
yeah, exactly.
keep track on your history and everything.
Exactly, and she also knows that she's supposed to be supportive, that she knows what I work with. She can also like challenge me into what I should do next, what I should try to position myself within. So the other day she said that she thought that I should become a sci-fi author.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but of course I like widening my mind and the possibilities, because that's also like one thing that I think is so interesting, like with the future of work. I mentioned that I've been freelancing for 15 years. That's like my whole professional working life. I'm 38 today. And then you'd be like, oh, so I'm in the middle of my career right now, but probably we might work until we're 70, which means that I actually have more than 30 years left to work, and I've only worked 15 so long. So what am I going to do for the next 30 years? I mean, stuff changes all the time. And I said it again, like with AI, it's fundamentally going to change the way that we work and the roles that are out there and how much one person can do. I hope that that means that we might be able to work much less.
Right.
And also that when we work, it will like be more focused on meaningful work in another way and not as much like repetitive tasks. And I mean, I work with communications and marketing, and of course I see benefits in my area, but in all different areas, I think that it's really going to change a lot of things. And that's why I also think it's so important that everyone learns and starts experimenting with AI. And that's also one of the reasons that I did this whole AI stand-up debut.
Right.
Just
I think
to
that's
experiment.
Amazing finishing thoughts on this amazing talk in Stockholm.
Amazing.
Yeah.
In this amazing city, with this amazing host, with this amazing selfie stick that someone even laughed at.
Yeah, exactly. All right, it's been a pleasure to meet you again.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. So official now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Thank
great.
you. And nice meeting all of you as well.
And if people want to get in touch with you, how can they?
Look for me on LinkedIn, Emelie Fogelstedt, but I'm sure my name will be written somewhere in the text.
We'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
If they want to contact you.
Yes, you're more than welcome to. If you come around Stockholm, or if you just want to talk future work or freelancer tips or whatever.
Maybe a
or
Swedish
Nomad
meetup or something.
Yeah, maybe we should plan one of those.
Cool.
Cool.
Nice chatting with you.
Likewise, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.